Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Dead Space 3. So I reset my router, which means of course I was disconnected temporarily from the EA servers, which it's I think important to point out when you start to see warning messages like this, one that is either quit the game completely or continue playing offline, um, when you were paused particularly also, it really goes to show the focus of the game developers. They don't want you playing their game unless you're connected to the online store so you can buy more microtransactions. The focus from this game is not to give you what you've already paid for. Remember, this would have been the equivalent of a $60 AAA game, and frankly, I think in the Dead Space series, since there were so many collector's editions and different versions, that you really were paying slightly more than the average game cost for this series. And now they want even more money, um, or they're going to give you at least an annoying pop-up. Whereas most games that have online ability do allow you to just gracefully run through sections without it being a real issue.
Private Sam Ackerman. Is anyone left out there?
Sam, it's Dr. Serrano. Listen, you must make your way to Facility 1. Do you hear me? Lives depend on it.
Doc? Whose lives?
Everyone, just go, Sam. Go now.
I'll try, Doc. I'll try.
This whole story of like cannibalistic people like doesn't really do much for me. Have we gone in full circle here? Like this feels like we just went full circle. Okay. So there was a gate here, I guess, and it started by showing us the suit things, but instead of putting the suit things on this wall that you could see it, they needed it to be co-op, so they needed room for two. So I just did not see that there was this gate here in the first place. Which, yeah, that kind of sucks. Now remember that in this whole area, this is funny, it feels like the elevator was going down, not up. There was this whole setup of the guy's dead still. There was this whole setup that happened where we were seeing this giant monster, and now they've given us plenty of time to forget about the giant walking spider monster. Right, scavenger bots. You see them walk in even if they've returned to the bench like several minutes earlier. Let's do -1 clip. Let's see. Some tungsten upgrades. These ration seals still don't really make a lot of sense. I can make a force gun, but medic support handgun. Like there's really no reason why you would build anything. This doesn't cost any tungsten, but it would still cost a lot of other things. Alright, well, what we have found out, and so I want to do this. Plus reload, +1 damage, +1 reload, +1 clip. Let's remove that circuit. And remove maybe this. And let's do damage -1 clip. Plus reload. We'll go ahead and just put 1 damage there. And we'll see if we just have something that's just a rate of fire. Rate of fire plus 1 damage. Rate of fire plus 2 damage. Rate of fire plus 1 damage. Plus 2 damage. -1 reload. Let's see. Plus 1 damage clip. Remove that. And plus 1 damage clip. That'll give me 2 more shots. See. Plus 2 damage, -1 reload. The problem here, I think, is that the game doesn't really adjust the amount of the amount of enemies it throws at you, so yeah, 1 fire and 1 damage. 1 rate of fire, 1 damage. 1 damage and 1 clip. We know that this isn't really doing anything for us, this lower weapon concept. But also, it's not helping in any other way. So there would be an argument, I think, towards really slow reload there. Yeah, we've this upper tool on the shotgun is at its maximum damage. Like, I don't think you can even really go much higher than that. Let's see where we are as far as inventory items. Let's see, yeah. And see, what you'd really want to do here, right now, would be to go back down the elevator. And use the tungsten that we just got to potentially upgrade our suit some more. That's about the only thing I think I can do. So yeah, 12 shots here was barely enough to take out the starving characters, which I think we killed pretty much everybody in this facility. I wouldn't be surprised if there is just not anything else left to do. Alright. So we get a bit of a jump attack there. And it wants me to go that way, but we have this whole optional mission to run back this way. Apparently there was something in the snow there. Yeah. We can see how we are one-shot killing these guys now. I ran by something. There are all kinds of pickups, but they're like under the ground. And I'm walking over them and I'm getting the audio cues for them. And that's it. We no longer have a temperature issue. Notice that. Seems like a lot of these things may have just
don't want anyone going hungry out there. And now, a little something to warm you up.
we don't have the ability to break down health kits in the middle of the process, in the middle of the game, so there's probably going to be some weirdness around that. You did see there was a Necromorph that popped out of this one area. We might as well do the optional content and check it out. Try to get some more upgrades. We're actually not, I think, really that far away from potentially. I don't feel like we're that far away from potentially upgrading the entirety of our setup to the max, or close enough to the max that it wouldn't matter.
Anybody there?
Ah, hell, there ain't nobody here.
Someone left the music on. Here, think you located at Sergeant Lumley's rig. We should be able to pick up his suit's transponder.
Why'd the general send us here anyway?
Boy, an army marches on its stomach. We won't last 1 week on this planet without our food and guns. Lumley has both.
Ah, shit.
The idea of food is weird, though. Like, we've had no requirement to have any food in any of the Dead Space games. So if we all of a sudden can do something with food, that would be weird. But I don't, it would just be another health kit, would it not? Yeah, we would still need 100 tungsten to upgrade that. We would need tons of semiconductors to upgrade that. I could use tungsten here, but I don't have enough transducers to increase the number of shots that we can shoot in stasis, which would probably be helpful. Yeah. Transducers. So let's just see if we can get semiconductors or transducers somehow. It also feels like every time we run into one of these benches, we should potentially get something for that. But no, we're not really running into that. Right, so if we sell this, this will give us 51 transducers, which is kind of a insignificantly small number. If we sell this, this gives us like 50 of that. Let's go and sell this. Put that there. If we were to dismantle a weapon, it just kind of gives us more weapon parts, which I guess at this point you should just dismantle them. Get a couple somatic gels, some more scrap metal. So now if I was going to craft something, I have like 3 compact standard frames, which I could craft. And then I could put a military engine and a plasma core, or telemetry spike, or Tesla core. But if I can't carry any of these weapons, what does it really matter? We've got what seems like new things we can craft. Apparently I just accidentally built something when I really didn't mean to. Yeah. But when you get back down to it, don't think I have still enough for the stasis coating, which is what I wanted, instead of electric charge. Yeah. still nowhere close to enough tungsten. I guess I could put some reload here, although I imagine it doesn't really help in any way. In a lot of ways, this rotary cuff module is just complete bunk, and there is an argument to removing it. If there was an upgraded rotary cuff module that let you rotate, but also let those upgrades let you upgrade your weapon 8 times instead of 4, that might make some sense. And like, do I even need more damage? Not really. Like, you can see that even though we're only about 3/4 through the damage, the truth is that's good enough for the small necromorphs, which are the main thing that you're going to fight. Unless there was some kind of upgraded plasma core. But there isn't anything like that either. Alright. Let's look here. I could make another tungsten bar. That's about it. We can wait for the bots potentially to give us some tungsten, but I doubt waiting for a minute is worth it. So yeah, we're still short on tungsten. We're still short on semiconductors. We're still short on transducers. Yeah. And I don't know how you really get that kind of content. Let's go over and see if we can select this mission so it will tell us the direction to go. Yeah. All access levels. Tram station. It wants me to go this way. Let's see. Guess that did take a while. Yep. These resources are ridiculous. Let's go into the next room and deploy the scavenger bot here. Oops. So, yeah. They didn't even get a hit on me, but definitely shows that you can get distracted playing the non-game elements of this game instead of focusing on the actual games. Interesting, the scavenger bot just knocked the corpse around. Pause now if you want to read this. Pause now if you want to read more of this. Pause now if you want to read the rest of it. This looks definitely like somebody's gone a little crazy. It says turn it off. We see a lot of books. Again, it feels weird that there would be real world books. That's almost like an indication of being rich, considering how everything is in text logs. And then you look at these computers and they just don't really make sense unless these are supposed to be designed to look retro, because a technology that would make a computer look like this is not the same technology that would make a ship that could get you into space. What this posits is the idea of a world where spaceflight is less advanced than computer technology, and that's just hard to believe. Like, even the suits and the benches all seem to have these holographic displays, so having an old computer monitor does not make any sense at all, and really is just an indication that they've taken some pre-bought assets and are reusing them. You never really get any kind of mine, like proximity mine or anything like that, that you could use to put on vents. Well, it would make a decent amount of sense if you could get to a vent before the Necromorphs reached that area. You could put some barbed wire on it or something of that equivalent. This might be an interesting sequence if all of a sudden we get grabbed by some giant tentacle, or they start just falling out of the sky. But what it probably is going to be is just lighting. Nope, I guess I was wrong. They did jump out of vents in the sky. They didn't jump directly out of the other parts. We're seeing a lot of doors here that seem like they're going to be opened up later. That would be my guess as to how this is going. And we're also seeing a lot of corpses now are despawning then fairly quickly. There was like 4 or 5 Necromorphs in this room, and they despawned down to pretty much 2. Yeah, unless there was some way you could trade the rations, which that might be interesting, but I don't know who you're trading them with, per se. Is something going to break out of the ice? Maybe. Feel like there's a chance we're going to end up going backwards through this whole scenario section. That feels like something. Take 3 attempts to get to it. If it is a case, though, that we are going to end up trading food, I don't know who we're trading it with. The unitologists? That'd be weird if we started to work with them, or a splinter group. Make us whole. This should have been a cutscene. So this guy has been turned into some kind of ritualistic display. Well, safety first, and make sure he's dead. There definitely seems like there are religious aspects that are built into the signal of the markers. They seem to definitely try and make it turn into a religious belief. Is the same guy. Yeah. Did we come out of that door? I thought we came out of that door, so yeah, we may end up just going in circles.
Alright. There's something wrong with this planet. Something very, very wrong.
Make us whole. What do you suppose that means?
Sergeant, please, sir, can we just get the hell out of here?
Nah, not just yet. The transponder's further in.
You crazy? Sir! Wait for me!
Like, I don't know what's supposed to be creepy here, though. Like, this is all stuff Isaac has seen for 2 games previous. Did we walk through that door? I guess we did. So they're definitely trying to force you into an area. Let's see. This guy is trapped. There's another guy over here. Use a little bit of health kit, probably prematurely. The stomp has stopped being anything of importance. Like, certainly if they are going to potentially remake this game, the amount of limbs they can sit around and stay and not despawn will be much higher as far as modern 7 years in the future plus. But yeah, that definitely still just kind of feels like a cakewalk at this point. We've somehow overpowered ourselves on normal when you would expect normal to not be that easy to overpower yourself with. And it doesn't really feel like they're building towards that many boss fights. Like, the entirety of Dead Space 1 had way more boss fights than this game does. Here we're seeing unitologist marker symbols, or maybe we should just call them marker symbols, because they may very well appear in the minds of people even when unitology as a religion doesn't exist. Here we've got one of these power puzzles, which we have not done a power puzzle in an extremely long amount of time. It's kind of shocking how much time. Alright, well, apparently that one's locked, so I couldn't pull that one out anyways. If these scavenger bots didn't require you to go back to a bench to redeploy them and they just return to you, that would improve the game, I think, fairly well. Interesting. That one took more. They do seem to have a speed increase as far as one of their actions they can do. Interesting, there's kind of a splash damage that also seems to happen. Like, sometimes I'm feeling like I'm not even really hitting these guys, and yet they are dying. Let's see. And at this rate, we are going to pretty much just have to start moving things around as far as is that the direction we're supposed to go? Nope. It's way too easy to miss the thing you're trying to stomp on. And we have a whole gun here, so let's just go ahead and use one of these and take this. This is not gonna go well. Suit kiosk, bench. I'm hoping that there is a bench right on the other side of this. It doesn't seem like that is what's gonna happen, though, unfortunately. Come on, game. Is there a way to shoot that up there? I mean, yeah. Totally. There's a way to shoot it up there. Isn't this the door, though, that we came through? Yeah, I think it is. Alright, well. That is glitchy. That is really glitchy. Come on. It's higher frame rate stuff. And the good news is these batteries won't explode or anything. Well, at least I've never seen one explode. It would be kind of interesting if they did explode, but then you would have to introduce a device that would replace the batteries when one did explode. Alright, so we're going to take on a boss fight, more than likely. Which, unless they're going to throw regenerators at us, I'm not particularly scared. If they do throw regenerators at us, then you just have to deal with them and stasis them and run away. That's how it always goes. I don't know what I'm specifically hacking here. The readability on this is bad. I don't know if I'm activating an elevator, if I'm turning on a generator, or if I'm just hacking something for the sake of hacking something. I guess I was hacking an elevator. think I got some tungsten there. Which I'd appreciate that if we started to see tungsten actually drop. Is there possibly a system that occurs here where you get tungsten once your inventory is completely full? And is there some kind of speedrun strategy that could be applied to that, where if you just fill up your inventory and then run through the game, you can upgrade your inventory way faster? At this point, it does really show that having the single bullets take up your inventory kind of sucks. Whereas in previous games, you had a separate inventory for bullets that were still limited, but it gave you more to hold for medkits. I also feel like I'm picking up some of these medium medkits and then using them when I really don't need to. So I probably, next time I see a bench at this point, just need to sell all the medium medkits to get more gel. I guess we're going this direction. And we're still looking for a bench, which will follow our objective. Make sure we have the right gun enabled. Seems like we are mostly safe. It would have been a bit of a journey to go back and have to search for the items we left behind. Yeah. Just sell that. Go ahead and scrap metal some more, and I'm gonna put one that way. Also feel like I'm gonna go ahead and just sell that because we're getting so much resources. Dismantle that weapon. And as far as like weapon crafting, weapon slots, I might be able to now craft the stasis coating. So am I certain that I really want this? No. But I kind of have to either take it or leave it. Upgrading my health and my armor is not really a big deal. Like, we've died a couple times in the first half of the game, but now we're kind of one-shotting things. So yeah, I'm willing to risk it, and that'll get our tungsten down. So maybe when we get to the end of this optional mission, we will get a lot more tungsten as a reward. This one says to go downward, so we can't deploy it here. I don't see a reason to deploy something when it says there isn't any inventory items. This is an interesting little gate. 3-8 of us. I guess maybe that's what it's supposed to be. Were we down this direction before? Yeah, it feels like we may very well have been down that way. Eat of us, make us whole. Yep. Got one this way. Interestingly, stasis kind of slows them down, though I can't attack them in quite the same pattern. But yeah, I think that worked very well to add the stasis coating. It changed how the game played, certainly. And more than I would have thought it would. Which, in all fairness, there is a very decent possibility that if I played this game the way the developers wanted me to play it, as an action game where you build different weapons and try out different gunplay mechanics, that you might have very varied experiences. That was even true in Dead Space 1 and 2, is that there were just very different experiences one could have if you played very differently. But I think the audience definitely spoke, and I definitely spoke, and felt like the real way to play the game was with the original weapon, and only the original weapon.
Alright, there's something wrong with this planet. Something very, very wrong.
I don't know which one I just got.
What do you suppose that means?
Sergeant, personal log, Sam Ackerman. 3 days I've been quiet, hiding in the dark. I have to get to the radio call for help. I think there may be a way around them. By throwing small objects, I can trick them into investigating the noise.
Well, I cannot even really tell which one of these was the one I just like picked up. So apologies for the completionist out there that wanted to read whatever that log was that would have wrapped up his story. By the looks of it, it seems like it's fairly obvious this guy got trapped in this inventory area, the storage depot, and basically starved to death. And that there is, I suppose, some weirdness in the fact that the Necromorphs, if they kill you, seem to either completely eat you or more likely turn you into a Necromorph. So yeah, there is that issue. Honestly, it probably is easier to run back this way through 2 areas to the bench. That way we can eliminate a lot of our inventory. We have a new blueprint here for what? A lot of these blueprints probably weren't in the game originally. Heavy metal thunder, which yeah, still would take tons of tungsten. I think I want to be a little careful here. I want to sell this. I don't think I ever am going to need to use stasis. +1 rate of fire, +1 damage. Let's see. Rate of fire going up versus reload going up. Or damage +1 clip going up. It probably would make more sense to do +1 damage, +1 clip. But reload probably is better than clip. This is the one I'm actually looking to remove and replace, is to have something that's +2 damage only. And I feel like you're probably only going to get that somewhere around the point where you have a new game plus about to happen and playing it a second time. And then I imagine it's designed so that you could even play the game a third time or a fourth time and have it. Oh, I meant to craft a tungsten thing. Well, back we go. We always want to have one of those on us, otherwise the game is going to trick us, I think, at some point, and we are going to then be short a tungsten bar. So far, we've only really needed to craft like 3 of them in the entire game. There's a whole text log here I missed. Or did I miss it? Pause now if you want to read this. The text logs seem to be giving the indication that even the new people are getting infected and affected by the marker signals, which Isaac seems to be somewhat immune to that idea. We're gonna climb down this ladder and immediately get attacked, I suspect. Interesting. No. Well, this is a fairly small area, so it's a little surprising that that didn't do that. This looks like it moved. Like, they eat of us, make us whole. Concept. It definitely feels like we're going to either end up running through this sequence or just walking back through this sequence and fighting more Necromorphs. This, you definitely can see why this is supplemental optional stuff, is because it's just not particularly in line with what the game is. Otherwise, the game right now is very focused on having us run through the snow and save Ellie and taking this whole side mission. That's always a problem in video games when you have optional missions, is that we've decided to stop having any concern for Ellie and instead just look for collectibles. This whole tram station may actually take us back to the beginning, so it could also be a case that this whole optional mission would not reward you had you not crafted those tungsten keys, and had you not spent your tungsten keys wisely. Although there's not really an opportunity to waste tungsten keys, but you could waste tungsten. But it is going to reward you somewhat. So you're not going to be completely out of luck.
Almost there. The signal's getting very close now.
Sir, I don't know about you, but I haven't seen a scrap of food yet.
Don't you worry. We'll all feed soon.
What?
This way.
Deck that on the ground. A lot of these collectibles also feel like they are just straight up regenerating, so it doesn't really feel like there's a connection between what you pick up in the game as with regular gameplay mechanics and what the scavenger bot is picking up. It seems like the scavenger bot just gives you a random reward. It's throwing a lot of benches at us. Had I known that, I wouldn't have bothered. It's just kind of nothing to do there. And I can just use a health kit. Might as well. We're rolling in them. Like, every time it gives you one of these benches, it's kind of telling you that you're about to potentially run into a conflict, but none of these conflicts are really large. There we have maybe some explosive barrels. We had been introduced to that idea before. Unless these barrels are actually the rations, but no, they seem to be explosive fire barrels. So we found the collectible, which that's more indication we might run into a regenerator. Pause now if you want to read that. Yeah, it feels like we might be able to fight some kind of giant regenerator creature in this area. We have a locked door, and now we're looking, I suppose, for some kind of puzzle. Are these supposed to be the rations and the food? I mean, you can even barely see them in the dark. I guess if you hadn't seen these guys before, they might be somewhat problematic. Explosion didn't help anything. Okay. All kinds of collectibles. All kinds of things now on the ground. We're just looking to pick them up. And so we're gonna kind of walk slowly over the surface. And the game definitely in that sequence just turned into an action game. Like, undoubtedly. Like, this has just turned into shoot, 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 and then shoot some more. We'll go ahead and heal. And then we've got like a storage, and inside of it is a scope, an upgrade circuit, some scrap metal, an upgrade circuit, some spare parts box, and some ammo. And maybe in co-op, +2 reload, -1 clip. That's kind of not that useful. +2 reload, -1 rate of fire. That might be useful if that was a very like powerful weapon, but it would also have to be a powerful weapon that just either has some targeting in it, where it's heat-seeking missile type weapon, or it just has a very broad degree of oh, I didn't even see that, like a very wide dispersal area. So you would need like a scatter shot shotgun if you were going to like increase its reload at the cost of its clip. A lot of these modifications don't make any sense at all. Like it really seems like you're doing almost nothing, which I think is because they know for a fact that they didn't really want these elements in their game. And Visceral people have pretty much come out and said directly that they didn't want some of these live service elements in their game in the first place, and that's why it's not implemented particularly well, and it was just the EA higher-ups. This is weird to have a camera here. Once again, just technology that does not really fit in with the timeline. Like, a vent makes sense. Walls make sense. That you're not going to really change the technology that much on walls or vents. But a camera that looks like a camera from 1990 has no place in the world where you're able to move from entire solar system to entire solar system, and you have these holographic screens. One would assume if you needed a camera, you could put a camera everywhere and it would be pretty much invisible. You could just scan from miles away. Is this supposed to be like the place where you ran everything? Somebody ran everything?
Oh no. No! He spoiled all the food! Sarge! Did you hear me? It's gone. It's all gone.
Man does not live by bread alone.
The hell's that supposed to mean?
The meat is all around us. Tasty meat. Fingers, toes, and noses.
Hey, where are you going? What's gotten into you?
Hey!
Everyone must understand. They must know. They must eat.
So the only real question, I suppose, would be, was that guy the first to turn them all to cannibalism? Or was he just one person to turn them all to cannibalism? And did they all turn to cannibalism eventually? Here we have a security room that we can't access yet. And the bench here is basically only because we needed to turn in everything. Alright. So we could do a new weapons upgrade. Let's see. Don't have really tungstens for this. +2 damage rate of fire, +1 rate of fire, +1 damage. I just don't think I'd want to replace any of this. And I don't really have enough tungsten to replace any of this. +1 reload, +1 rate of fire. Whereas I could do +2 reload and -1 clip. And that's about it. I wish there was something you could do with these circuits. Break them down to get tungsten. I think that would be the right move for a system like this. Otherwise, we're just never really going to have enough tungsten, and clearly that is the case. Did we get both the scavenger bots back? Yep, they're both back at the bench now. So had I just waited another second. But yep, it definitely feels like you are just getting minimal resources. And you're just wasting your life away. Well, this scavenger bot seems to not find anything in that area. Yeah, I suspect we maybe have one more conflict, or we just run out of this area and we're just done. We may very well be done with the optional mission, and what it was really going for was that door would have been locked had I used the elevator at the very beginning of the supply depot. +2 reload, -1 damage. I don't know why you'd ever use that one. What we would need is an enemy that is fairly weak and would die on the default shot. As long as you get like one shot on it, it dies. Even if you graze a bullet across it, it dies. If there was more of those little head things, for instance, which we've completely not seen at all, they've forgotten about them, then there would be an argument for a weapon where you could reduce damage. But since 99% of all the creatures you're fighting are just humanoid necromorphs, then yeah, you know what's going on. You know what you're gonna fight. I think I have just gone full circle here. So there isn't there isn't an argument around having that kind of weapon or having a weak weapon. And it's totally worth it to just waste that extra bullet and do 2 shots versus having the enemies potentially do damage on you, although damage kind of doesn't matter either. Let's see. Is there an argument to wait 7 minutes? No. But we will go over to the suit thing and see if we maybe have something we can upgrade. I suspect the answer is probably no. We're still very short on semiconductors. We're still too short on tungsten. Suppose I could increase the amount of damage on a weapon mechanic I've never used. Yeah, and I don't see a reason to do that. And it definitely feels like it's not going to be until you finish a game, the game completely, that you will start to have a weapon, a system that lets you have more inventory spots. That's the thing I should have checked. There's my inventory, and I didn't. Yep. Okay. So what option am I done with? Yeah, that I just finished that mission with very little fanfare, very little purpose.
Be sure to have your
See if
ration card
there's
stamped after every
anything.
meal. We don't want anyone going hungry out there. And now, a little something to warn you.
Ration cards being stamped would indicate that they're rationing the food, not, which means that they would be happy for somebody to go hungry out there. It would be a more complicated argument to say that by rationing they're making sure the entire team, the entire military group is getting their fair share of food, I suppose, but that's a hard... It's not really the point of the ration cards so much, or at least the direct effect of the ration cards. The direct effect of the ration cards is that you can't eat more than your fair share. Right. So this is as far as we got in the main game. Is you had this scanner, which again, why have a camera if you have these scanner devices? And that was the thing that was going to stop us from going further in the story. Was that optional mission worth it? I don't know. Like, you still have this issue where we're collecting ration seals, which we have no idea what those are for. Unless you can turn those directly into tungsten later on in the game. We're still very short on semiconductors. We seem to have plenty of somatic gel. We seem to have plenty of scrap metal. We seem to have plenty of bullets now that our damage is really high. And frankly, there really was no point in the game where you were going to be super low on bullets, even at the very beginning of the game. Maybe if you're playing on Impossible and you're having to load 4 or 5 bullets with an unupgraded weapon into every single Necromorph, maybe then it makes sense. It seems like there's a decent amount still of Chapter 9, and then we have 9 more chapters after that. You'd have to go over to progress and unlocks to get a better idea as far as Chapter 9, as far as how much we've really collected. It's been probably about 2 hours since we crash landed and got separated from Ellie. So that should have been your main focus and your only focus. Putting an optional mission in between of that just makes it seem fairly obvious that we're not going to reunite with Ellie for a while. Yep, and it definitely seems like we're halfway through this chapter. Either that or I've missed things. We haven't seen any achievements in a long time. Yep. Is there anything else to say though? No. That there is just kind of a monotony to this game. Like, we walk through rooms and it flips a coin. If it lands on heads, you get attacked by necromorphs. If it lands on tails, you don't get attacked by necromorphs. They've been spending the past 2 hours introducing these starving, cannibal necromorph creatures, which don't overwhelm me on normal. Maybe on a higher difficulty they would overwhelm me. My gun is overpowered at this point. My suit is fairly overpowered at this point. I'm not really going to ever die. If I do die, it's just going to be because I ran out of bullets or because I get completely overwhelmed. There's signs of wonky physics all abound while we see these necromorphs shoot into the air. It seems like what they probably did is they directly applied a velocity to the limbs shooting up in the air, which is affected by the amount of damage they take, which that's kind of silly and was always going to make it look wonky if that's actually how they programmed that. It's hard to care about any of the story when you don't really care about any of the characters. It's hard to care about any of the characters when they weren't properly established in the first half of the game. It's hard to feel afraid when you're overpowered. Certainly, there's not been anywhere as many good cutscenes as the first game. I would say that even the second game is not anywhere as memorable as the first game, but this third game is way worse than even the second game. There's considerably fewer boss fights and monsters, and that was one of the things of Dead Space 1's, is that there were a decent number of necromorphs that would show up that were different and differently mutated, whereas we are just kind of seeing the same old standard necromorphs over and over again. There really is seemingly a lack of care or interest, and they haven't, with the exception of the cannibalistic characters, which are just the babies being replaced, or the kids being replaced, they haven't bothered to add anything new. Alright, well, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.